Today I'm going to explain a supernatural drama film called A Ghost Story. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. C and M are husband and wife that happily live together in a small house in Dallas, Texas. The spouses are planning their big move and are looking for a new home. She tells him that before she moves out from a place, it is her habit to hide a note for herself in there in case she returns. While cuddling on their living room couch, they hear weird and creaky noises. C looks at the wall and sees refractions of light forming on the ceiling as well. C is a talented musician. As he works from home, M looks at house and apartment listings on the internet to plan where they'll live. However, C does not seem too keen on looking forward to leaving home. That afternoon, M drags some of their belongings across the yard. Without the help of her husband, she struggles to carry the heavy stuff. That night while they are sleeping, they hear a loud noise coming from downstairs. It seems like someone or something moved the piano, which came with the house. C and M both come down, clueless about what could have caused the noise. After some time of checking everywhere, they still couldn't find the source. They go back to bed and continue to share an intimate moment until they fall asleep. The following day, smoke fills the air just outside their house. Two cars collided just in front of their yard. C was the other driver. The car is completely smashed as his lifeless body sits still in the car while they wait for help. At the hospital, a doctor accompanies M to the room where her now late husband is. M seems to have an underwhelming reaction as the doctor reveals the sheet to her. Everything seems to be a shock to her still. The doctor leaves the room to give her some privacy and space to grieve C's passing. She stares at her husband, covers his body, and then leaves. After several minutes, C awakens as a ghost. Based on his demeanor, he seems confused as to why he is there. He wanders around the hospital from his room, still covered in the sheet, but no one notices him. He walks by different rooms and in different people, but he remains invisible to them. Near the exit, a door of light takes form and opens up before him. He shows no interest in the door and stares at it, so it closes. He continues to wander and walk for miles until he arrives at their home. He enters the house and goes to different rooms to observe and look around. In the kitchen, he sees a photograph of him and his wife as Linda, their realtor, walks by the window. She enters the house, bringing a homemade dish, and goes around the house like it's hers. C just stares at the woman from a corner. The woman leaves after leaving a note for M to call her if she needs anything. C reads the note and sees M enter the house. This is the first time that he has seen her since the accident. At this point, M looks extremely sad and not her true self. She goes through letters sent to her and decides to eat the pie from Linda. M eats the pie at their kitchen counter and does it disturbingly. It seems like her will to live is also out the window. As she eats the pie on the floor, C just looks at her from a distance. After just forcing herself to eat, M runs to the bathroom to throw up. Without C, the house feels incredibly dull and empty as his music used to fill the air. M looks at their bed in their room and hugs the sheets that still have C's scent. She cries, and C starts to console her by touching her shoulder. But this is ineffective because he is invisible to her. Eventually, she cries herself to sleep, and C is just watching over her. The next day, he looks through the window and sees another ghost next door, also covered in a sheet. M wakes up to watch the rain outside. After, she cleans the house, changes the bed sheets, and gets ready to go out. Days go by, and C just watches her longingly whenever she walks out the door. He lingers around the home and reminisces memories of when he was alive. He sits at their bed and decides to take a look at the other ghost again. This time, it waves at him, and he returns the gesture. Somehow, both of them can communicate without the use of words or signs. The neighbor ghost says that he is waiting for someone. C asks who it replies by saying that it does not remember who it's waiting for. One night, C is sitting on the living room couch. Suddenly, M arrives with a man, whom she hugs and kisses. She welcomes the man inside. Even as a ghost, C feels a sense of jealousy. Because of this, he controls the lights to turn it on and off. He also hurls books from the shelf, leaving M clueless. She browses through the pages and sees relatable phrases that have an impact on her experiences. M remembers a flashback of when C used to make her listen to his songs and compositions. On the floor, she listens to the music intently and longs for him even more. The memory of her listening to the song for the first time is very much vivid in her mind. M decides to move out and puts their belongings in boxes while movers arrive. The whole house is about to be empty, and C patiently follows her around while she arranges things. She paints the walls a brighter color. The refraction of light that C noticed before appears by the doorway. She comes closer to take a better look. Just like what she told C, before leaving, she writes a short note and securely hides it in the wall's gap. M takes a final look at the house and leaves. C stays behind and sees her leave the place they both called home for a considerable time. While driving away, M seems ready to build a new life without her partner, but sadness still fills her eyes. Now alone in the house, C tries to pick at the gap where M left the note. But all of a sudden, two children enter the house, and this catches his attention. He tries to follow the children around. A family moves and settles into the house. C watches them share meals, talk, play the piano, and celebrate Christmas as one happy family. There is too much going on at the house compared to when M was the only one living there. This makes C move around more. Eventually, he becomes more agitated. The children start to sense his presence and grow scared of him. One night, the young boy wakes up from a noise coming from the closet. He wakes his sister up as well for comfort. C scares them by opening the closet door and revealing himself. However, the young boy points a toy gun at him, acting like he is not scared. C scares the family once again when one night, he sees a family portrait of them and knocks it. The frame's glass got broken, but the family continues to have their meal. Unsatisfied with their reaction, C lifts a glass of milk and throws it on the floor. The mother is shocked to witness the hovering of the glass. He carries on with throwing plates around the house out of anger. The lights start to flicker as the family watches in panic and confusion. After the paranormal incident, the mother cleans up the kitchen, putting the broken plates in a box. Eventually, the family moves out, leaving C all alone again. He still tries to scratch and picks the gap where M left the note but fails. He comes to the window and sees the other ghost next door. It is sitting by the window, looking like it's waiting for someone. It asks C who's with him, and he replies that he is alone in the house. Time passes by, and new occupants vacate the house. They throw a party, and the number of people present and the noise overwhelms C. He moves around to check on people and the things that they do. Almost all the people at the party are drunk as C just observes them. He listens to a conversation between middle-aged men and women who are talking about God. One of them explains that pieces of the past will remain forever, including Beethoven's symphonies, the end of the world, and the memories that people leave behind after death. The man's words create an impact on C. He listens attentively to their conversation. The man then describes the Big Crunch theory, concluding that the entire universe will surely collapse back into a singularity. The partygoers notice the lights flickering. When C starts feeling strong emotions, he can scare people, which is the nature of ghosts. Again, occupants move out. The house is now abandoned and in ruins. After all this time, C is still trying to get hold of the note that M left in the gap in the wall. He finally manages to get the note out of the wall, but just as he does, bulldozers arrive and start to level the house, along with the one next door. The house is now being demolished to pieces while C watches. For the first time, C and the ghost next door see the outside world. They look at each other atop the wood and rubble of their former homes, clueless about what will happen next. The ghost next door realizes that there is nothing left to do. It tells C that they are not coming back. Instantly, it vanishes under the sheet, which crumples to the ground. A big construction project takes over the house. C watches as the skyscraper is built where his house once stood. He walks around the building, seemingly lost. It is now a corporate building with multiple offices inside. He just observes people going about their day at work. He heads to the rooftop that overlooks a great cityscape. The area once filled with trees in the middle of nowhere is now futuristic and modern. C gets on the ledge and decides to jump. After his fall, he finds himself in an empty field. A man is staking out a claim on which piece of land to build a house. A family arrives on a carriage and settles at the place while their house is about to start construction. C watches the family's young daughter after she hums one of his song compositions. The young girl writes a note on a piece of paper and hides it under a rock. This gives C an all too familiar feeling. Because he is in a different era, the family dies after an attack. C just sits and watches their corpses decay over time, causing fields to grow over them. All of a sudden, C is inside their original house again. His living self and his wife arrive at the house with the real estate agent. He asks the agent about the piano, which she says has always been here. The living C takes a look around the house and gets a weird feeling. As the ghost of C watches the couple when they move in, he sees the moments that the living C and M share. He also senses tension in the marriage because the wife wants to move out, but the husband is hooked to the place. The night before his death, the living C tells M that he is now willing to move elsewhere. The ghost of C sits at the piano, striking the keys that caused the noise that startled the couple in the beginning. He sits in sadness after slightly getting a glimpse of his past and how he could have been a better husband. C once again gets a look at his ghost, watching M leave the house for good. He approaches the wall and finally gets the note without any struggle. As he is about to open the note, The sheet crumples to the floor, and just like that, C vanishes into thin